Okay, so I can record again. Okay, so we just covered if statements. What I'm gonna reshare, and okay, that's that. So that's how to do if statements, and so that's how that works. I have to fix something really quick. Let me share my screen again. I'm gonna share. Bring this here. This. Okay, good. So that's if statements. Um, Now we're gonna move on to for loops. And this is a bit more, it's easier to code. They might be easier to code, but they're more complicated to understand. So I want you to create a new project by going to File and then New Project, New File. You can make sure to save your changes on the previous one. So save those, create your new file, save it in your C drive, and we're gonna call this for loops. So there's not a lot of coding involved with this one, but there's a lot to understand. So why don't we start? So what for loops do, they keep repeating a certain amount of code until it ends or something stops it. So for loops are usually used when you know how many iterations that are going to occur, and they're usually used to print out sequences and lists and stuff like that. So so we can say for letter in for letter in Apple, can say over here. 1 second. Somebody said something. Akshay, do you have a question? You can shout it out.
Okay, wait, what's the title's name again?
It's just called for loops. For loops.
For loops. Okay. Wait, so
FOR
do
and
you
then
mean FOR or FOU or?
FOR. FOR. Yeah, thanks, Vishnu. It's in the chat. Vishnu put it there. I'm gonna share again. Okay. Okay. So anyway, so what a for loop does, it's like in very rare cases is it used to do anything else, but it's usually always used to print out lists or sequences or stuff like that. So in this case, we're saying for letter in Apple, we're saying print the letter, print letter. So then if we run this, it's going to print out every single letter in a different line because Python thinks of it as, since it goes line by line, it's printing letter by letter. It's going to go first A, then P, then P, then L, then E. So, that's what a for loop is. So, they're usually used to print out like lists. For example, in video games there's a high scoreboard, and if you wanted to display that on your screen, then you'd have to say, depending on the code, you would say something like, for high scores on board, print high scores, and it's going to print every single person on the leaderboard. So that's what a for loop is. You might not use them as often, but they're still important to know about. So that's what a for loop is. So what I want you to do is do something like this and just print out a for loop. So I'll give you like 4 minutes to do that until 1:35, I guess. Yeah. I'll give you until 1:35 because it was simple. Ask any questions if you have any. Okay. So I'll give you some time to write this down.
Arnav?
Yeah.
Wait. Can it be like four numbers, like in four numbers in like 10 or so?
So what you can do numbers, but it's a bit more complicated because you'll have to learn about lists. But like you can say for um so integer is just a number. It's just a negative or positive. So how this is gonna work, I'm not gonna code it right now, but it's gonna be for the integers in, and then you would make a list, like you'd have curly brackets, and you'd say like 0, 1, 2, and then close that, and then you're gonna say print integer. It might not work because I'm not um I'm not really sure um how to do this, but you'll have to learn about lists, and those are a bit more confusing. Like this will probably give me an error. Um oh, it actually did. So what it did, it also printed out numbers. So that's another thing to know. So I can give you a quick lesson on lists right now because we're right here. But I'll just give everyone until 1:35, and then we can do lists for maybe 5-10 minutes.
It is saying, um, oh, okay, actually, never mind.
Okay.
So this is basically doing what in our code? Could you explain that again?
So it's not commonly it is used, but it's not very common in code. But what a for loop does is um it's used when you know how many of something is going to be displayed. So like um so for we can say for uh um this is okay. So think of it like as I mentioned previously, like for every 10 points that they get, give them an extra bonus point.
Okay.
That's what a for loop is used for. And but it's most used for printing lists. So any kind of list, like you wanted to display how many items are in the shop. You could say 4 items in a stack, print items, anything like that. They're most used in lists.
And when I run my for loops, it's saying invalid. Let me see. Wait, 1 second. It says invalid syntax.
Yeah, that's a very common error. That's usually if like you have a spelling error or something, but you can share your screen so that I can see.
It says host disabled participant screen share.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It's there now. It said for integer in print and
And
Oh, so what you did, you put the F for 4 capital. That's why it's not yellow. You have to make sure it turns yellow because Python doesn't recognize that.
oh, okay. So now if I run it, should work.
So everyone's spelling, spaces, capital, everything is super important because that could just crash your whole program and then it won't work.
Thank you.
So that's that. So I'm gonna show you what lists are now. I'm gonna reshare. So a list is with numbers is usually with curly brackets. So you use what are curly brackets? They're on top of regular brackets on your keyboard. It's just another type of bracket. So we're saying for the integers in this list. So what integers again are a negative or a positive number. So for the integers in here, we're saying print all of the integers. So that's how you can use numbers for lists. And there's also something called a float. And a float is mostly the same thing as an integer, but it allows decimals. So if I change this to float, it's gonna run the same thing. But or no, it's not actually because what these are classified as are integers. So actually previously was the better function. Integers. Or actually, we would have to change this here. Print float. Now it would run. That's why there's a problem. But you see, if you leave two different things there, such as a float and integer, it's probably going to give you that. See, now it prints 0, 1, 2. It's going to be the same. But like if I change these back to integers, remember these don't include decimal numbers. So that's going to be here. And if we change this to 0.1, then it's going to just give us an error. Oh, no, it didn't actually. That's weird. You know what? I think actually it might be a negative number. That's, you know what? You can forget that. I don't know if it was some update or something, but just leave it as integer. You don't need to go into floats. It's fine.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So about this, is there by any way you can say like zero of something, like zero bananas, one strawberry, two oranges? Could you do something like that and make it available instead of using like the integers or the floats?
Um, I don't know what you mean exactly. Like, can you reword that maybe?
So, what I'm basically saying is like, if I want to do something, I want to run it as like a list. So I'm saying like zero bananas, one strawberry, two oranges, and three apples. So, is there
Oh,
by like any code that you can use like in teachers or?
so you can't use an integer in that because it's not a number. So you would say, I think it's for word in this list. Again, I'm not really sure because I'm not too familiar with lists, but if I say maybe apple, close this, maybe banana, I don't know, pear. I'm not too familiar with lists, but okay, that's wrong because there's an integer here. print. This may or may not work. Oh, it did actually. So Word is another thing you can use if you want to print the entire thing out. So, and to answer your question, all you have to do now is just print. You can say for word in this list, print the word. You can say one apple, because we have to make this a string now since it's no longer just a number. 2 bananas, and we can say 3 pears. And then that will print 2 bananas, 1 apple, and 3 pears. So
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if that really answered your question because I didn't really knew what you mean, but so you can also put words in lists as well and print the word. So that's what a for loop is. It's used in lists. You can put like words in this list, numbers, anything. Somebody raised.
Yeah, that answered my question. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did somebody just raise a hand, or was that by accident? Are there any questions? Oh, that's fine. Any questions about for loops at all? Pre-show?
But I copied what you did for the 1 apple, 2 bananas, and 3 strawberries, but it gave me an invalid syntax.
Again, it's probably a spelling error. You can share your screen, and I can try to find it.
Okay.
You just have to look around in your code to see where it is. Usually, the error highlights where the problem is. So, you said, oh, you didn't put a, okay, so,
Oh, wait, this was the wrong one.
well, I can fix your error there too, because there's an error there as well.
Yep.
So you have to put a colon there, and then tab the ones beneath it. You have to put a colon after each if statement. That's for everyone. You have to put a colon and then tab the line beneath it. What I mean by tab is just go to the front of the print statement, put your cursor in front of the print statement, like in front, all the way in front. All the way in front, and then press tab. And you have to do that with every single one. Put a colon and tab it.
Okay.
And you have to make sure to put a colon. Okay, you can go to your for loops one. You put a colon after print, by the way. You have to put it after else. It's after each of those words. Yeah. And no, actually, what you didn't do, so you have okay. So you don't need a colon after if. You don't need a colon after if. That's just you have to give a condition after any of the if statements. You didn't put a condition after elif. You need to say like something, because it's saying if blank, so it doesn't know what you're asking, so it won't work. So you need to put a condition after it. But for now, you can go to your for loops one, and you can look at the slides at home to see. And what did you do? You didn't close your quotation marks. You have to put a quotation mark, and you should be able to run.
It says
Says
the
word
name.
is not defined. Okay, close it out. Oh yeah, you put int. Yeah, thanks chat or Vaishnavi. Thank you. You put int there instead of word. Okay, great. So that fixes your problem there. Now we're gonna move on to while loops. So now this is another type of loop. Unlike for loops, you don't know how many times this is gonna run. You're just gonna ask Python until this doesn't happen. Just keep going, keep doing it. So before that, I'm gonna create a new file. I'm gonna rename it. I'm gonna call it while loops. I'm gonna save this. Full screen it, and then let me just check the chat. Okay, nothing there. Okay, so I've made my while loops project. I want you to do that too, and then we're just gonna do I'm gonna use numbers to demonstrate what while loops are. But right now I'll just give you an example. So in a game you would say while the player doesn't reach 100 points, say keep going, or you need to get 100 points, anything like that. But you don't know how many times the player is going to take to beat the game. So that's what a while loop is used for. While it's not true, keep going. Keep saying this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use variables to help you understand this. It's going to be x is equal to 10, and I'm going to say while, it should turn yellow because Python recognizes this, while x is less than the value of 20. Remember, 20 is an integer, so we don't need to put quotes around it. So while x is less than the value of 20, now this is, so this is a less than sign. Oh, this is a greater than sign. This is an equal to sign, just so you know that. And
So,
I don't know if you learned this in school, but wherever I'm going back a few years, but wherever the mouth is open over here, that's greater. So it's saying while x is less than 20, then it's telling us to do something. And I
so
think someone had a question.
are we printing something? Can we print it after the semicolons, like after 20? Like, are we saying to like print word something something?
So why don't we actually just do that? So we can say print, we can say print, like it can be any, let's say, hello, caps lock, but that's fine. We can say print hello. So it's just gonna keep printing forever. As you can see, my scroll bar is getting really low, and eventually it's just gonna crash, and then nothing's gonna happen. And the reason it just keeps printing this, like, as you can see here, it's just gonna keep going on forever, and you have to kill your program. So the reason it's doing this is because x is always gonna be less than 20 because it's equal to 10. X is equal to 10, meaning x is always going to be less than 20. And we're saying, while it's less than 20, print hello. Meaning forever, it's going to just keep printing. But my example was, while x is less than 20, let's add 1 to it. Let's add the number 1. So this is how we're going to do this. We're going to say x plus equals 1. It's not just x plus 1. You have to say an equal sign. That's just the way Python works. So x plus equal to 1, what this is going to do, it's going to add 1 to it. And we're going to say while x is less than 20, x plus equals to 1, meaning add 1 each time. And then and we're also going to say print x. Actually, let's just not say that right now. And I'm going to show you what happens. if we run this, nothing's going to happen because we're not printing X anywhere. It's just doing all of this work in the background. So what we need to do now is print and then X. And if we run this, it's going to print all the numbers up until 20. So X is equal to 10. We set that. We preset that equal to 10. And we're saying while X is less than 20, keep adding 1 to it. So it's just going to keep adding 1 until it's equal to 20, as you can see over here. And we can also decrease it. So we can say X is equal to 10 while X is not equal to, or while X is less than 20, we can say minus. And this is going to be the same situation. It's going to keep running. It's going to keep running until the program crashes because it's never going to equal to 20 because we're reducing by 1. It's going to keep going on forever into negatives, and eventually it's just going to crash. And it doesn't have to be 1, it can be like 10, you can decrease by 10.
Can we do multiply by 2 or something like that?
Yeah, you can do anything. Like you can do multiply, but I was just going to explain this. So the thing with Python, it's not going to stop at 20 because if you know this, some of you don't, but some of the multiples aren't going to be 20. They won't equal 20. So it's going to stop at the multiple like greater because it's going to keep going. We can say X times equal to, the times is a star button. It's over your number 8 times equals to 10. That means it's going to multiply this by 10 until it's equal to 20. But if you know, okay, I ran the wrong thing. But run module. And it's gonna print 100 because it's gonna do X times 10. So X times 10 is 100. 10 times 10 is 100. But it's not just gonna stop at 20 because it's gonna go to the first multiple. And that's what a while loop is. So you can play around with this. You can set this equal to 550, and you could say divide by using the slash sign. You can say X is equal to 900, and it's just going to go to the first multiple, which is, okay, it didn't run anything. So while X is less than 500, well, X is greater than, so all we have to do is just change the sign in order to make this work. Change the sign to greater. And it's going to stop at 90 because it's dividing by 10. And then it's just going to stop because that's the first one that's under 550. We can change this to, okay, we can change this to 1, and if you know, something divided by 1 will always stay the same, meaning it's always going to run the number 900 because it's never going to be below 550. It's always going to run 900. Even though we have a division sign, but anything divided by 1 is just the same. So it's always going to do this.
I got something different instead of what you got.
What did you get?
It didn't run anything for me.
Here, you can share your screen.
Not sure if I had everything, but
Okay, so the most probable error that you have is you said X is equal to 900 while X is less than. Okay, so your error here is that X is greater than 550, but you're saying while X is less than. So it won't run anything. But now that you've changed it and you click run, it should work. It's going to keep going on and on forever.
So before I did another number and I got negative when I divided 20 by, wait, so remember when you did the 20 example, 10, if 10 is less than, if 10 is less than 20, then divide it by 2. So then it went into negative when I run it. Is that right or is that wrong?
Yeah, it will go into negatives. Multiplication and division can make it go into negatives. Because it's going to go to the first multiple or the first number. Division doesn't do that. It's actually only multiplication. But if you divide by it might bring you into negatives, and that's fine.
Got
But
it.
it's just saying so I'm gonna reshare. So what in simple terms, as long as x is greater than 550, divide x by 1. So divide x by 1, 900 divided by 1, and it'll go on forever. So that's what a while loop is. So ask any questions. Because some of you might not understand this because it's getting more into math, but everybody understands? Is everyone good?
Yeah, but basically, can you explain like what's running here? Like, what's the equation that's running in this program?
The one that I currently have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's first we defined a variable. X is equal to the value of 900. And we're saying while x is greater than 550, since 900 is greater than 550, this is going to execute, meaning Python will do this. And we're saying divide x by 1 as long as x is greater than 550, which it is because it's 900.
So when you run it, won't the number change, and won't it like then won't the value x value be less than 500?
No, because 900 divided by 1 is just going to stay 900.
Oh yeah, sorry. I meant like another number other than 1, because anything divided by 1.
Well, yeah, we can do like 3, and it should stop at 300. Yeah. Because because when you divide, 900 divided by 3 is 300, and that's less than 550.
Oh, okay.
So that's how that works. Let me just look at the chat. If you send the recording, yeah, it's gonna be in Classroom. All the recordings will be in Classroom. Yeah. So that's that. So we're on the dot 2 p.m. So are there any like last minute questions or anything? Everyone's good. If you have a virtual background, it might be hard to see your hand because it might get, you know.
Oh,
But just
I'm
shout out
using
your.
a virtual background.
If you have one, just shout out your question. You don't need to raise your hand. But nobody has a question. Okay, so
Actually, I have a question.
yeah.
Like, when will it stop? Like, it keeps on saying, it keeps on like writing the number and over and over and over and over
So
and over and over.
it's never going to stop unless you stop the program, and that's just because 900 divided by 1 is always going to be 900. And we're telling Python as long as it's greater than the number 550, because 900 is, it's just going to keep dividing by 1. But it will never reach the like requirement that it needs to meet. That's why it's just going to keep going on and on forever, because it's never going to be less than 550.
Okay.
So I'm going to end this session now. If you have any questions, or we just went over questions, but
Could we just like X out of the thing and save it?
Yeah, just make sure to save everything that we did today, and then you can close it.
Okay, thank you.
What will we be learning next class?
Okay, so I can give you that. Let me just check my. So next class, we're actually gonna do something fun. We're gonna learn to draw shapes and like how to put shapes on a grid and everything. So we're just gonna do simple shapes. It might be a bit challenging because it is a lot of code, but we're just gonna be doing how to draw shapes, what properties they have, and we might play a game tomorrow, maybe.
Oh, that's
But it depends on time. But if we have time, we'll play a game where everyone has a competition. But that's what we're doing tomorrow. We're working with shapes and how to use the turtle module.
goodbye. Have a good day.
Okay, bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. And
Bye.
have a great day.
Have a great day.